A lesbian joint Instagram account followed me the other day. Two Irish women. I tell myself that I'd seen it all, and then I wake up the next morning and I say, holy shit. They DM'd me and they said, let's be honest. And I said, I will be honest about the NFC West. Seattle Seahawks, to me, are one of those teams that I feel like that you can't ever count out. They kind of have that underdog mentality, and I think that's something that they've had for quite a few years. They're not at all the best team in this division, and I think the Rams are very far ahead of the other teams in this division. But I think below the Rams, the three teams there are very, I don't want to say close to one another, but they all have different things to offer, and it's going to be interesting to see if either of them could squeeze a wild card spot. The Seahawks are more than capable of getting a wild card spot. You know, you can't count them out, but I would be shocked to see anybody besides the Rams win the division. Pete Carroll for the Seahawks, he's coming back. He's, one of the better coaches in the league. Very animated, fun to watch. Russell Wilson is the guy that Seahawks have been going with, and he's nothing short of fantastic. He had 35 touchdowns last year. He's one of the best, probably the most mobile quarterback in the league. And he makes a lot of plays for the Seahawks, and he's just been very good. And I think he's personally gotten better, and I don't think that sometimes that he gets enough light on that because maybe the team around him is starting to diminish slightly. But Russell Wilson is definitely the guy for the Seahawks, and he's unbelievable with a lot of the things that he does. Running back, last year they had Chris Carson. He was a 1,000-yard rusher, and the last time that the Seahawks had an 1,000-yard rusher, it was Marshawn Lynch, and Marshawn Lynch was one of the best, I don't know if you want to say the best running backs of all time, but he was fantastic for the Seahawks in their tenure. And, maybe he could have ran the ball at the 1-yard line, like we all say. But, it was the first 1,000-yard rusher since Marshawn Lynch, and if that's any type of sign of what's to come, that they're definitely going to like that, because the Seahawks have been, since Lynch has left, has been a little bit in shambles. They did have Thomas Rawls for a while that they were working with. Rashad Penny also, as far as I know, is going to be backing him up, but they're going to need to see more from him. Chris Carson is definitely the guy that I think they're going to be going with as far as the running back position goes. The receivers, there's quite a few changes here. Doug Baldwin was contemplating retirement, and the Seahawks said, we don't give a shit, we are losing patience. So they cut him, and they lost him, and he was the leader of the receiving corps for the Seahawks for quite some time. Tyler Lockett's been there for a while, so he's going to step up, and he's probably going to be the mentor for the most part in this receiving corps position. Wilsley is a tight end also. They like him, and Tyler. The receiving corps has got a little bit of question marks, but it's definitely something that I think they can work through, especially with someone like Russell Wilson working with them. One of the biggest problems for the Seahawks was when they lost Frank Clark, who went to my knowledge. Ziggy Ansah is coming in as well, but he needs to stay healthy. He's had a lot of problems with injuries, so they're going to be relying on him on that D-line a little bit. But them losing front defense that can be a playmaker and make a difference, but they do not have that after losing him, so we're gonna see what we get from there. Linebackers, this team has been set on linebackers for a while. I don't really think I even have to say his name. I don't think he needs any introduction. Bobby Wagner is their middle linebacker. He's coming back. He is favored as probably the best middle linebacker in the game. That's obviously up for debate. If you are going to throw curls or flats or slants or anything like that, I would highly suggest do not do it against the Seahawks, because Bobby Wagner is going to take that shit away from you. So do not do that. They got KJ Wright and Kendricks both coming back. They're going to be working with him. So the Seahawks, I am looking for them to have a good linebacker core. And as always, to have Bobby Wagner on your team can benefit you so much. Their secondary, Shaq Griffin and Trey Flowers, they're thinking that Shaq Griffin can really be that guy for them. You don't want to get toasted on the deep passes. So, for them to have that. But a lot of the problem is that, the Seahawks, they had this Legion of Boom defense that we all knew and loved, and was probably one of the best defenses ever. But they do not have that anymore, and so many players from their defense have split and parted ways. So, the defense is not at all dead, but it's going to be a little bit of a weakness, especially after losing so many players over recent years. All said and done, I think the Seahawks will be all right. Russell Wilson usually finds a way to make them in the mix. They're probably going to be, one of their contending NFC wildcard teams, and probably the second team in this division. The Arizona Cardinals are the next team that we're going to be talking about in this division, and this team was a complete shit show last year. They were probably, I think, the worst team in the NFL last year, and anytime that you're coming off the worst season, there's only so much improvement that you can make in the off season. But I think the Cardinals drafted well, and I think that they know that they did that. None of the quarterbacks that started from week 1 last year are returning at all this year, so you don't really have any quarterback familiarity. But you do have Kyler Murray, who was taken as the #1 overall pick, and I think that the world is on his shoulders, and the chips are going to have to fall where they may, because they're going to expect a lot from Kyler Murray. They need him to get it going. Kyler Murray has so much pressure on his shoulder, and I think that if he's anything less than fantastic, this team's really going to struggle, because they do have a lot of problems. Brent Hundley being their backup quarterback, who has virtually no NFL experience whatsoever. So Kyler Murray is a major key to this team, and they're going to expect a lot from him. Better running backs in the league. He did fall off slightly. He didn't really adjust to the system that they were having, but the second half of the season he was kicking it up a little bit. He does have a little bit of injuries there, but David Johnson is definitely someone that you're going to want on your team, and I think that he'll do just all right, especially working with Murray. So we'll have to see how they pan out together. The one, the only, and one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, the fact that he's still playing, the ageless Larry Fitzgerald is coming back again. Larry Fitzgerald has been putting up numbers for years. He has been loyal to the Cardinals, and he is one of the better wide receivers in the league. He's not getting any younger, so I don't really know exactly how many years he has left, but he is coming back, and that's going to help tremendously, especially to see how he works with Kyler Murray. I think he can bring a lot out of Kyler Murray, and they're going to work well. Christian Kirk was a rookie last year. He did fairly well. That's another receiver for the Cardinals, but the Cardinals did hit the draft very heavy on wide receivers. They're going to be a offense-heavy kind of team. From the way that it looks, they drafted 3 wide receivers, and they have Larry Fitzgerald as well. Christian Kirk, who I think is also going to be in that mix. So Kyler Murray, a lot of receivers. I think that this receiving team is going to work out well, and we're going to see the chips fall where maybe they do. But they also got Charles Clay, who was coming off a rough season of the Buffalo Bills, to be their tight end. So I don't know exactly how we're going to see the tight end fall, but we are wide receiver loaded on the Cardinals. They had the worst offensive line in football, to my knowledge, last year. Their offensive line could not guard a flu with a fucking flu shot. That's a problem. Even especially with a young quarterback, he doesn't really know maybe so much how to deal with guys. Everybody can pass for 300 yards until Khalil Mack is coming at you, and you have guys like Von Miller. So it's a very important, not even so much them, but just your D-line too, Aaron Donald, guys like that. So that's going to definitely have to improve their offensive line big time. Chandler Jones, Corey Peters, Rodney Grunter, that's the defensive line. They got Chandler Jones, who's been a quality player for them. Their defensive line has some players, and I think that their defensive line is going to be all right. Linebacker, they got Terrell Suggs coming in for the Cardinals as well. They also have Jordan Hicks, who was a free agent signing, he's going to be a very good free agent signing. So their linebackers as well. The Cardinals' defense so far is lined up pretty decently. Their secondary, they have maybe the best corner in football, Patrick Peterson. He's been so consistent for so many years. So he's going to be putting kids to bed and taking the football from them like a pacifier. So, they got that secondary, they got the defensive line. The linebackers are looking all right. Offense is really where the question mark is. That line is really was awful last year. They got a lot of wide receivers, a tight end, a little bit of question mark there. Kyler Murray, everybody's as good as their first game, so we don't really know what we're going to see from him, but he does look like he's going to be very talented, and they're going to help out that team. The Cardinals have a lot of question marks, though, so I don't really know exactly if they know where everything is falling. I do think that the Cardinals are going to struggle a little bit next year, but they can definitely improve. They will not by any means be winning this division. So if you're a Cardinals fan, I hate to break your heart, but I'm sure you know this already. Anything could be better than last year. I don't see how you could be bad with Kyler Murray, but they are going to be relying on him super, super heavily. I think that's very hard, especially when you're just coming into the NFL after being drafted to have the weight of the world on your shoulders like that. Sometimes it's too much, so we're going to see how he does it, but Kyler Murray is the centerpiece on this team, and if he goes down or whatever happens, this team's going to be screwed. So Kyler Murray's the guy to look out for. San Francisco 49ers, and now this team has been bad, folks, but let me tell you something. The San Francisco 49ers are going to be a team where, they have pieces, you're seeing progress. Don't think they're going to be winning the division whatsoever, but this is a team where it's one of those teams where they're not expected to really be good, but don't sleep on them. They have several key pieces that can make them a good team, and they are going to improve on paper coming over. Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're sitting behind Tom Brady, what can you say? He was fantastic as he started his way on the 49ers, but that ACL injury really screwed them, and when he went down, the 49ers completely fumbled, no pun intended, and that was a huge problem for him. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to stay healthy, and he's going to have to produce the way he was producing, because Jimmy Garoppolo is a very good quarterback. I can't say he's amazing or whatsoever, just because he hasn't played that many games in terms of starting, but Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely the guy that they're set in on after that massive money they gave him. So I think that they'll be great at the quarterback position. The running back position was a bit of a question mark. It's kind of this one, that one. Jared McKinnon did get hurt, but they were the running back. He was the running back that they were set on for the season. After him getting hurt, it was running backs galore pretty much. They used 3 different running backs throughout the season, and they're going to look for McKinnon to come back healthy, and he is definitely the guy that they are set on. As far as the receiving position, there was a breakout star in George Kittle last year, a tight end, and he actually had, I want to say this is the most yards by a tight end in the season. He had over 1,300 yards receiving, and he's quickly becoming one of the best tight ends in the league. And it's very Jordan Matthews as one of their receivers. He was very injury plagued. Their wide receivers were okay last year, but Jordan Matthews was very injury plagued. We're looking for them to step up a little bit. Kendrick Bourne also in that list as well. Their offensive line, everyone is, as far as to my knowledge, everybody is returning on the offensive line. So, that helps. They got the chemistry already. I think their line's going to be all right. So far their offense is looking okay. Their defense, this is where it gets very interesting. Their defensive line looks really nasty. They just drafted Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa's brother, so if he's anything like him and or better, you're going to expect a lot from him. D Ford, another fantastic defensive player, is coming from the Kansas City Chiefs. You have DeForest Buckner as well, so their defensive line is looking very good in San Francisco. Backers, they did sign Quan Alexander. He was very good before he had an ACL tear. Fred Warner's there as well. Malcolm Smith did take a pay cut to stay with this team. So linebackers, a little bit to me, is going to be partially a question mark, but there are the talented names there that are going to help that out. Their secondary was a massive problem last year, and it's hard to say that when you got someone like Richard Sherman in the secondary, who 2 to 3 seasons ago was a lockdown defender and one of the best corners in the league on the Seattle Seahawks. They weren't really throwing his way. Sherman I think is going to benefit from the 49ers having a better pass rush. They weren't throwing his way, like I said, but as far as, I don't know if the stat is exactly correct, but they had 2 interceptions all year. That's awful, because I don't know how you could have 2 interceptions on the defense. So their secondary is going to be could be a problem. It needs to get slightly better. Sherman is on that as well, but I don't think that since he's been on the 49ers, he showed flashes of what the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Doom, which he was a part of, was a problem. So the Seahawks, the 49ers, they got, I think they have a lot of pieces on defense. That defensive line looks really good. Their wide receivers are a little bit of a question mark. They have a fantastic tight end, and Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't expect him to be anything short than very good. This team is really hard to predict. I think their offense has the pieces. The secondary needs to really step it up, and I think the offense needs to get more well-rounded. You can't just have the whole offense be centered on one player, because so 49ers are going to be a lot better this year. Jimmy Garoppolo is key. I do think that we're going to need a lot out of him, and we're going to need that secondary to improve dramatically. Or you're going to be seeing a lot of deep throws, and you're going to be seeing a lot of problems with the 49ers. For last, the LA Rams, and this is going to be an exciting one to talk about. This is the team that I believe is going to be taking the division in this upcoming season, and is another a very good chance as a Super Bowl contender. Jared Goff was lighting it up the first half of the season last year. This guy was unbelievable. He was an MVP candidate. He was slowed down a lot in the second half of the season. The Rams are still the Rams, but he was slowed down a lot. Jared Goff is a good quarterback. You know, how good is a good quarterback without an amazing offense? Well, that's the question for you to answer. But I do like Jared Goff on this team, and I think that, you know, a lot of key pieces coming back is to help him. So they do have it set in Jared Goff. Todd Gurley is one of the best running backs in the league, but towards the end of the season, he was having injuries, the knee problems, the potential arthritis, and I think that could be a problem for Todd Gurley down the lane. Something that I don't know exactly how he reacted to it, but the Rams did trade up to get a running back in the draft, Darrell Henderson, I do believe, and I think that, you know, I don't know if that's them being cautious, but to me, if I was Todd Gurley, I know how good I am, I know my worth. When a team does something like that, it's almost like, you know, we're going to prepare ourselves for this, or we think that this is your injury and you have X amount of time as a quality player. But Todd Gurley should be coming back, and I'm a little bit questioned on how he's going to be because of the knee issues. But, you know, Todd Gurley does need to step it up, because, you know, that is definitely what they're looking for. They do have a very good receiving core as part of this offense. Cooper Kupp he was a beast until he tore his ACL. Tyler Higbee as well is going to be coming back. So they have the receivers, and, you know, they're going to hope that Cooper Kupp can stay healthy, because he was very good for the LA Rams when he was playing. Defense, this is, you know, I think that in my lifetime, you know, I've only been watching football for X amount of years, but Aaron Donald, to me, is one of the best DTs I've seen in a very, very long time. I mean, if you watch this guy's film and you just watch how he is as a defensive player, I mean, you could have 3 guys guarding this guy. He's going to get to the quarterback. He's just absolutely unbelievable. Aaron Donald, best defensive player in the league, 20.5 sacks last season, setting the record. There's not much you can say. Ndamukong Suh is gone, but, you know, he was just a nice addition to that. He is a good player, but he's been bouncing around. He's bounced around the last couple of years. But Aaron Donald is the guy they're set on, and if he ever comes in a contract dispute, you pay this man the money he wants. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in football. When you have someone that can get to the quarterback, that is extremely, extremely important. He's just an absolute beast. And if he tops or gets any better from what he was last year, it's almost going to be scary. I forgot to mention, Andrew Whitworth was one of the best guards in the league. He was contemplating retirement, but he is deciding to come back to help out this Rams team. That's very important for them in protecting Jared Goff. To have a leader, been doing it like him for so long. Their linebackers got to get adjusted a little bit. They do have Dante Fowler Jr. I would say he's a fairly good linebacker. And last but not least, their secondary. I kind of zoomed through a little bit on the end of this defense because my video is getting a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. They have good Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, but Aqib Talib did get hurt. Eric Weddle is coming on. Eric Weddle is going to be joining the secondary on the LA Rams, and I think that's going to benefit them a lot because Eric Weddle is a very, very good player, to my knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the NFC. Put your money on the Rams to take the division. You got interesting teams outside of it. I think the NFC West, to me, is kind of one of those teams. You have components outside and you have certain teams that have certain question marks, and they have the potential to be a playoff team. And then there's the Rams. They are expected, and in my opinion, are going to win this division again this upcoming season. So thank you for watching. This was the NFC conference. We got the video results. We got the NFC East. Let me tell you about how the Eagles are going to win that division. I got the NFC North telling you where the Bears are going to do it again. The NFC South, who's got a lot of question marks, but the Saints got them winning the Super Bowl also. And the NFC West, where I got the Rams taking this. So we're going to get going on the AFC. The AFC is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of fans of the AFC, and I think it's going to be a lot of. I'm going to kick up the energy maybe a little bit. I have a lot more knowledge about the AFC. So thank you for watching, and